Well, we're delighted to welcome you once again to avail your time to share with us. Allow us now to please pay respects to you and welcome you into the Zoom room. Brothers and sisters, let us all now put our palms together to welcome Luang Por. As well.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Nice to be with you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone, wherever you are. USA, Canada. Yeah, I was just in Ottawa visiting some elderly friends. One just was in hospital. It's an hour and a half to Ottawa, one back, and I just got in. Anyway, here I am. Shall we do some meditation?
Yes,
Give it a
please.
go. Okay, I'll give some instruction. We'll sit for about half an hour and see what happens. So center yourself into the body. Just feel your body sitting on a chair, on the floor. So a bodily, just a general bodily sensation feeling. So move away from the scattered thinking mind and compose your awareness on a simple feeling of body sitting in the room. And now just wait. And notice how waiting is actually very peaceful. You're not trying to do anything. So you collect attention into the body feels this way, and then wait. Now, say, listen to sound. Let the sounds just come, whatever they might be silent, might be noisy. Just allow listening to take place so it's receptive. And now wait, just wait. And notice how waiting is actually quite a peaceful thing because you're not trying to do anything. You just wait and listen. And this is kind of hard to do because it's boring. It's not interesting or exciting. You're not trying to get anything. But it is the essence of peace. Because in waiting, you're just accepting. So you wait. And just let the moment present itself, however it might be. So most of you probably have a very good meditation already, so let you do what you like to do, but do contemplate something simple like waiting. And that's not in the realm of achievement or getting or doing something. And waiting. So with that simple instruction, let's just meditate quietly for most of the meditation now. As your attention starts to pick up stories and worries and things like that. At some point you'll notice that. So you do have to make some kind of determination to abide as this waiting, witnessing consciousness. So that when you notice you're all caught up with thinking, just return to that. You notice something and just return to listening, waiting. And you keep doing that till the busyness of the mind settles down. All right, let's stop there.
Thank you, Luang Por. Luang Por, may we request for a short Dhamma talk before Q&A? Or do we just go straight into Q&A?
My mind is pleasantly blank, so okay, I could try something and let's see what happens. If not, someone has to rescue me with a question or two. So let's try something.
Okay, so we'll now formally request for a short Dhamma desna.
Okay. But if everyone could also kind of dream up a question or someone afterwards, it'd be great.
Brahma Chanokam Dipati Sahampati Tautam Jamyana Divarana Jata Santi Dasata Paraja Jatika Desi Dudam Anukanti Lankajam.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. Well, how about waiting? Let's think about that then. If you try something simple like that, you just listen to sound and then you wait. It's actually very peaceful. Our culture has lost the joy or art or skill of waiting because we now scroll. So there's no more waiting, there's just scrolling. And the most horrible kind of things. As we were driving to Ottawa, I was saying to Nirasso, it would be far better if people observed a cat video before going to sleep rather than the BBC. Much better for your mind. But waiting is something that is why I'm kind of delving on this is because peace is actually boring to the mind which likes interest. So if our culture, our life is always based on our attention going outwards into thought, into experience of all manner, even if it's negative, it has some kind of stimulating quality to it. So people will worry or resent or get excited or whatever. So that idea from Luang Por Dun that the mind going outside is the problem. The result of the mind going outside is suffering. The mind knowing the mind is the end of suffering. And the path is that. So waiting is interesting, actually. If you use something simple like sound, you just listen to sound and then wait. There's nothing you really have to do. And then what happens there? What happens when you do that? well, you'll notice what happens, hopefully. And probably some kind of bubble of information will come up into consciousness, or some thought or some memory or some argument that you've had. And then, of course, attention gets drawn into that, and a sense of self gets reborn through thought. That's the pattern. So if you can break the bubble of ego thinking, that's a huge step for humanity. I mean, morality is a huge step for morality, for humanity. The fact that we're introspective, the fact that we're generous, that we are law-abiding, etc., etc. We're already amazing beings, I think. Amazing human beings for what we're already doing. So meditation is a very mature kind of thing for human development. And one of the patterns I like is foreground background. So I develop that a lot. I especially if I'm in it's very silent in the monastery, but if I'm in a noisy place, I'll just I'll allow my mind just to listen, and then notice that the foreground is cars and noise, but the background is always silent awareness. So do that exercise a lot, all the time. And that's not really based on some kind of formal meditation practice that I'm doing in a structured time. It's something that just all the time. And in that kind of listening and noticing the background, that's waiting. You're not trying to achieve anything really, because the background of silent awareness is always there. It's not a thought. Thought is an object. It's a movement. It changes, it comes and it goes. That's the foreground. But that's not all there is. There isn't just thinking. There is that which knows. So that's the theme we always have in the forest tradition. Now, one of the things we need to do and learn, and we already do that, is begin to burst the bubbles of self-creation, of ego. So I'm resenting something or worrying about something. That worry is not just an abstract thought. It's not like planning, is it? Worry is more like, what's going to happen to me? And I don't know about the kids, and I don't know this and that. So there's a sense of ego or self-created, right? So then when you notice the mood of, that's a mood. That's not the same as being excited about travel or being disappointed with something. It's a particular kind of construct, sankhara. And it's natural. The problem with it is the self-thinking, isn't it? The me and mine, what's going to happen. And as soon as you say, oh, as soon as you can just say, oh, that is worry, you actually, to some extent, you burst the bubble of ego. Now, all you have to do there is wait. Because you're home, you're in the home ground. Because you're aware, you're in the home ground, you're in the background. You're not the being, you're not being worried. You're not that self-worrying. It's just worry. It's just an object. That's actually quite hard to do, just to notice a mood as an object, first of all. And then to take the second step and just wait. Be the witness, be the knowing. So the first step is hugely necessary. If I just am always believing in the emotional bubbles that come up into my mind, then there's no hope. You're toast. And all of us know that. So that's the first step, which we call awakening. Anger feels like this. Annoyance feels like this. Disappointment feels like this. Constantly, Luang Por Viradhammo was reminding us. Then what? Then actually, you're home. It's done. Just wait. Now, why is it difficult? Well, first of all, you have to try it. But why might it be difficult to wait? Well, in Pali Buddhism, the term we use is nisaya. And Nisaya is a latent tendency. It's a tendency, like, let's say, if a person is a worrier, you know, that's the kind of go-to suffering that they've unfortunately gotten caught up into, then what they've created in their psyche, in their subconscious, is a mechanism which always worries, right? It's just nature. It's just how it works. So even though the person begins to recognize, oh yeah, worry feels this way, that's not the end of the work, because the worry comes up a split second later, and again and again and again. And that's the momentum of vipaka karma, we could say, the resultant karma, or what we call anusaya, latent tendency. It's a tendency to function in that way. So awakening, first of all, to, oh, that's a habit. That's a strong habit. Look at that. There goes the mind. It's complaining again or whatever. And then you start to see, yeah, but the background knows complaining. And you do get a sense of relief there. You do get a sense of, it's a positive thing. Wow. It's not just, oh God, there I go, I'm worried again, because that's not awakening. That's just criticizing and judging the word. So having awoken to something is a big step. And then just like wait, and then you'll see it come up again. And again and again and again and again. And you work on it for 10 years or more. And it is that way. I mean, I don't know anyone who doesn't have to do a lot of work with this stuff. I don't know anyone who just awakens and then boing, I'm done. And the Buddha took 7 years. Then he had all these paramis. Was it 7? Is that the number? Can never remember these numbers. But you know, it's true. Like the Buddha's ascetic practices, we think was years and years and years of self-mortification. What were you doing? There's some kind of tendency that thinks one needs to do that. So we're in it for the long haul. And if you're in it for the long haul, and you have that sense, well, these anusaya they're not minimal, they're not my fault. It's not that I'm wrong, bad, or stupid. I can feel stupid sometimes, but they're just the nature of the mind, conditioned mind now, that one is learning to awaken to. So the like awakening sometimes is very wonderful. You notice it, but then it's very disappointing because it keeps coming back. Why do I keep worrying? Or why do I, whatever it might be. And so in waiting, you want to burst the bubble of the belief in the mood. Well, I was talking about with others about something as simple as boredom. You're at a meeting and someone is, there's always one person who talks too much and is too clever, and you really don't want to sit there for another half an hour. They're just blathering on. And you start to get bored. And you look at the watch and you doodle and you look dagger eyes at them and you do all kinds of things. You know you're bored, but you're not awake to boredom. You don't see, in this case, one doesn't see boredom as an object. One is the subject of boredom. You see the difference? Now, if I'm in that meeting, I say, oh, this is really boring. And then wait. Then you're awakened to the mood of boredom, and you've got a better chance of not just being bored and doing all the things that you would do normally when you feel bored. What would the result be? Well, the tendency then, when you are bored, when boredom is triggered in you, then that tendency would be lessened the next time, because this particular time you've awoken to boredom as an object rather than being the subject which is bored and thinking and moving and resenting or whatever. And so the next time it comes up, you have a bit more awareness, a bit more space, a bit more understanding, and a bit more practice. And then the third time, you're better at it again. And the fourth time, and so on and so forth. The same with anxiety, the same with resentment, the same with whatever it might be. So that's what we mean by practice. One of the many things we mean by practice. Awakening, it's like this, and then continually awakening, and not believing in the self-thinking, the I think, the me and my thinking. That's the problem. That's what we call papancha or proliferation or the sense of self. So it's not a matter of trying to fix a habit. You can do things to create alternate states of mind so you notice the habit more. So I could say to myself, say like with anxiety, I could say, well, next time, now I'm practicing. Now I'm using anxiety as a practice. Okay, I want to use anxiety or anger or whatever it is to understand how the mind gets diluted. So then I make intentions. And the intentions in like body awareness. Obviously, what does the body feel like? What happens to the body when there's boredom? So now you've made intentions to understand the mood rather than just be lost in the mood. And that is practice. You make intentions, but it's not the intention never to have this mood. It's to begin to see it as an object rather than be the subject. And so it very much depends on your conditioning, what kind of conditioning you've had. So let's say your father, you were a boy and your father never complimented you, always put you down. Always, said, not good enough, not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. And you got that for 15 years. Now, what's that going to do to the mind? Well, you're going to have a personality which is based to some extent. Maybe mom was kind to you, and maybe you had a dog. So there's some alleviation of that. It's not monotone in that way, but let's say that happens. And now you have a personality which is based on what? Wanting approval from men older than you, something like that, kind of simplistic psychology. Then you could see how every time maybe an older man was in your presence, you'd want to please them. Now, you might start to notice that. That's the personality. That's a sense of self. But that habit is going to return again and again and again and again. And you're just going to be very, very patient. Oh, there it is again, the sense of self. It feels like this. Wait. So it's not so much trying to fix it. It's more like awakening. Oh, yeah, I see what's happening. It's the ego thinking that's the problem. And then when we talk about nirodha or cessation, I think what happens is these ego habits begin to be really clearly known. This is not me, not mine. This is the karmic habit of my childhood, of my culture, of whatever. And it is like this. And our home ground is awareness, knowing, the confidence. So if you listen to Luang Por Viradhammo's talks, he's just saying, be confident in your own awareness. Trust that, trust that. We tend to trust the thinking mind. Self-doubt is a very rippling kind of mood that comes up for people. And it's a thinking mood. It's not like the passion of anger. And what it is, it's just thought. Good, I'm not up to it. Maybe I'm doing this wrong. How should I be? Blah, 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 blah. And although one knows that the thinking is going on, one maybe hasn't woken up to say self-doubt feels this way. So there's a difference between knowing that you're worrying or knowing that you're doubting, but actually saying, this is a mood. It feels this way. That pops the bubble of self, of ego. And then if you can do that, you get better at it. And then you wait and notice, okay, now there's the background, there's the silence. You notice that this sense of a self is not really, it seems permanent, but it has gaps in it. It's just a thing that comes and goes. It's triggered by events. You say, oh, that's an object in nature. Now, it's a much more difficult object to notice than a scarlet tanager, which we just saw the other day, or the little baby turkeys that are running around. Those objects are quite neat because they don't obsess the mind, unless I'm a turkey hunter. That's something else, which we don't do. But this is all like self-doubt is an object. I mean, it's much, much closer to your sight, much. much closer to your identity, sure, but it's still an object in awareness. It comes, triggered by certain events, stays for a while, changes. It's an object. And to see, and the problem is the believing that you are the subject. What you really are is awareness. Awareness knows. And our life is one of awakening and then bearing witness to this gradual cessation of these habits. It takes a long time. Then you start to notice the ceasing of things, the ceasing of anxiety, the ceasing of self-doubt. You see it in a moment, like as soon as you awaken to like anxiety and you know it as an object, you can still have physical tension from the anxiety, but you know that's not me. That's an object. That's a turkey. I identified that turkey, or whatever you want to call it. It's not me, it's a turkey. Now, once you get that, even though you might feel the tension of anxiety, you're in the place of enlightenment. You're in the place of awareness, the place of freedom. Now you have to trust awareness. Just wait. And it churns through you, maybe if it's very strong, or it doesn't, it comes back again. Just wait. And so you start to develop a kind of skill, right? A skill and a kind of appreciation of where your freedom lies. It doesn't lie in fixing things. You know, you don't have to fix them so much as not believe in them as your real identity. Sometimes you'll have some material comes up that is grounded in an experience that happened 20 years ago. 25 years ago, it's just kind of waiting to bubble up and the conditions are right, bang, it comes up. And it might be quite strong, but that is an object. It arises, stays for a while, and ceases. Sometimes like people who have maybe got burnt out at work or had a really stressful family life, child abuse even worse, these things come out as all kinds of memories and family things. And then the witness can deal with them. You can know them. They can be frightening or they can be boring or whatever it is. And I think, as I always recommend, I think the best way to develop this daily life practice is, again, to really, really make your morning practice very, very serious. Not a flippant 10 minutes before coffee or after coffee. You know, something really that impacts. You see, these nisaya are so powerful and so insidious and so like coming at you all the time. This sense of self is so strong that you need a strong antidote to that, don't you? And that strong antidote is getting really, really grounded in an awakened mind. And how might you do that? Well, you link the awakened mind to something in nature, in the reality of nature. So if you listen to Luang Por Viradhammo and his life and his vocation of monasticism and the spiritual life, he's developed this sound of not developed, but recognize when the mind is free from ego thinking, there's a background silence, kind of ringing sound. And he's cultivated that for his lifetime. So for him, if ego consciousness comes up, he's got this thing that grounds his attention. Oh yeah, there's the sound. Others will have a kind of really strong sense of the breath, always. That just their attention would have been cultivated through meditation, maybe just in the hara. I like to use the heart chakra. So, or the hridaya. Anyway, I have a place in the body which I refer to in my morning meditations, and I develop that very, very strongly. And most meditators would. Some might use space, the background. Some will use breath. But what happens if you have a strong morning meditation and you're referring to something like a bodily sensation, You're not trying to go into jhana or like go into some super, super high state of mind. You're just knowing the body feels like this right now, or the out breath feels like this right now. Do that for an hour. The out breath feels like this. No big deal, but you do have to work at it. The out breath feels like this. The out breath feels like this for an hour. What's going to happen for the first 3 hours of the day? The echo of your awareness of the out breath is going to be quite strong. That'll give you a grounding in the body. Then when the ego mind starts to create its worries and its manipulations and its cleverness and all of the stuff that it does and creates a sense of self and other, you'll also have this grounding in a reality. Well, you'll see that's just thought. That's just thought. That's all it is. If you have no grounding in some sense of the realism of presence, of energy, then you tend to just jump from one thought to another. And you get caught up in just judging your thinking by thinking you shouldn't be thinking and analyzing why you're thinking so much so that you shouldn't be thinking, because you're analyzing and you're thinking. You kind of go like that in circles all the time because your only refuge is thought. That's your only place of abiding. So in morning meditation, you're not just trying to get rid of thought. You have to be skillful about that, but you're seeing the skill of the meditator to see thought as an object, memory as an object, future projections as objects. And you do that. If you do that in the morning meditation, and then ground yourself in something. Ground yourself in something very, very ordinary. So obviously, we're recommended anapanasati, mindfulness of breath. Ground yourself in a long breath. Do a long breath, like for a long time in the morning. Something very, very obvious. Not to get samadhi or to get like high states of mind, just to be earthed, grounded in the body. So then that's going to carry on into the day. That is going to be your strength, your strength. So the anusaya now come into something which is stronger, rather than just, waking up in the morning and starting the thinking cycles. There we go, looking at the news or whatever, and blah 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 blah. It just goes on and on and on because the attention is not composed. It has no composure, so it has no strength. It has no vitality to notice. Now, the strength of a grounded attention isn't like Herculean. It's actually very, very ordinary, but it's built up over the patient many, many mornings, years and years and years of grounding yourself in something other than the thinking mind. If not, then the thinking mind just dominates. And it's okay, it dominates and it thinks, but when something difficult happens and the thinking mind is in charge, and boy, it runs with the worries, or it runs with the resentments, whatever, because it's in charge now. You don't want that. That's not going to be very, very helpful. What you want is awareness to be in charge and to ground and anchor into something that you're just referring to all the time. So if you have if you're using like the heart chakra or the heart center, and you're doing that a lot, then that becomes a place you're always aware of. If you're using the end of the out breath, say, you just always have there's the end of the out breath. It's always kind of with you. If you're using the sound of silence, it's always with you. So you have this anchor. And then you can see how the attention wants to go out into the thinking mind, into the ego mind, into creating a sense of self, creating problems. And you remember your anchor. And then that's known. And that's known, and you see it's not real. It's a creation. It stays for a while and it goes. And you see it's ending. You see it's ending. So going back to cessation, you can see ending in the moment where you notice something, the ending of a sense of self in that sense. But then you see that habit, the habits of suffering that we have, the anusaya, they also begin to they're not so strong anymore. They don't delude anymore. And there's a kind of joy in that, because you've addressed, you've looked at, you've tried to understand the very thing that's been plaguing you all your life. Surely meditation isn't about abstracting into some disassociated states of space and emptiness and blah, 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 what's the point of that? If when you come out of those states, then you're self-doubting, hating your mother-in-law, hating yourself, worried about, you're just in the same ballgame again. Isn't it about the very things that tend to obsess you in daily life, that create a sense of self, create suffering? Isn't that what we're trying to liberate ourselves from? That's what we're living. So if you ground yourself in a very, very strong morning practice, then you'll be addressing those trigger points. There's times of these things being triggered when they happen, and that's when you can liberate them. So if you have a bad relationship with someone at work, or you're having a rough time with kids or whatever, you've done some morning practice, then when these life situations, families can be very tense, work can be tense, things get triggered, then, oh, there's that trigger. There it is. There's that resentment. There's the desire to hit back with wrong speech. There's the desire to mock someone. There's the desire to be cynical. There it is. I see you, Mara. And you don't go there. You don't go to wrong speech. You don't go to putting someone down. Because that can be so habitual, can't it? Just like someone else does something, you just put them down. And then you get put down. And it's just a horrible, horrible way of humans not relating. That's a non-relationship, or it is a relationship. But now, you want, you have this yearning to be free. And you realize that where the lack of freedom is right there, that person that you just put down. Or with that lie you did to make yourself look better or whatever. And where's that coming from? Where's that arising from? And you get more and more careful. There it is. There's a tendency to lie because I want to look better, or the tendency to put someone down, or to be afraid of saying something, whatever it might be. And you get better and better at right speech. Right speech isn't just goody-good speech. We're always going to be nice and say nice things until they may, oh, you'll be well, and so on. It's not like Bruno, this dog you have that you can talk nice to. Real life is like sharp. It's edgy. It's stressful. It's nasty. It's got all kinds of stuff in it. And you're triggered. Your stuff is triggered by things. And then your practice is, okay, what's happening now? Breathe. And you want to say something, and you don't say it because it's inappropriate. You know how to wait. You know how to pause. And you walk away from that thing, wow, I didn't get caught. Wow, I feel good. And then the next day you get caught and you blow it again. But you've at least seen a pattern and a way of working with it. This is very, very it's work with integrity, and only I can do it. And it's not about some disassociated fancy state of mind. It's the work of real life interactions. Like I was talking with someone about knowledge. Knowledge is easy. You can read 100 Buddhist books, and you can spout all the lists and be very, very clever. But when push comes to shove, you haven't really been challenged. All you've got is the Buddhist indoctrination. So you might, other Buddhists think, oh, that person knows the law. But there's no real challenge in knowledge. It's just more knowledge. So people might read books and they read books and they read books and they read books. Okay, so they have that. Now, scholars need to read books. They need to do that as a livelihood. But your average Buddhist, how much do we really need to read? How much information is really, really necessary? But the real work is not the work of accumulating knowledge, because that's not it. Knowledge doesn't take you into an uncomfortable zone. You're always in a comfort zone because you're reading and you feel like you're informed, which is fine. But where you get uncomfortable is with people, with emotions, with triggers, with sickness, with loss, with all of that we hear about old age, sickness, and death. And not to, I'm a pretty happy guy. And I think I'm happy because I've really been through the treadmill. I've been through the treadmill of anxiety and getting angry at other monks and being fed up with the monastery, like we all have, like family life. But isn't that the place where your anusaya, these latent tendencies, now get popped up? That's why Luang Por suggested community rather than solitude. He was very much, no, you guys got to live together and learn how to live together. Now you can look at monks, and we can do spiritual theater very well. We do choreography like no one, right? But what's going on behind all that sweet bowing and lovely chanting is real men getting up each other's noses and trying to get along. That's the reality of monastic life. So what happens? You sit, right? You're sitting, and then the guy next to you is definitely the guy that is causing you all the suffering of your life. And you got to live with him for the next 5 years. You better sort this out. I don't, maybe marriage is like that. I'm not sure. But because you're both honorable and you've come here not because of friendships, you come here to liberate the heart from the anusaya, that, okay, this person's personality triggers me. We have a common vinaya, a common reference of right speech and decency in a relationship, but it still triggers me. And it might be something like he eats his lettuce too loud. Or, something trivial would just trigger anger or annoyance. And then, well, what? I'm a grown man. What's going on here? Well, it's the anusaya getting triggered. There's nothing else to be angry about. So you might as well be angry about the loud lettuce chewing. It's just anger getting triggered. So it gets triggered. And now you sit there and thinking, I want to go to another monastery. But you don't. You're like, oh, aversion feels this way. Now you got the practice. It's not about him. It's not even about me, really. It's just the anusaya now. And this is why in the forest tradition, Luang Por was always stressing, just be patient. Hang in there for 5 years. Be patient. He was never stressing high states of mind. None of that. So just be patient, witness. It's your karma. It's things working out. It's things coming to cessation. But they'll only work out if they're known as objects. If you think that you're a bad person for having anxiety, or that you've got an anxiety problem, that's still self-view. It's better than not knowing it. But if you just see, no, it's this way. And then your relationships, like, where is my speech coming from? Is it just automatic? What in human beings, when they get really heedless, it's just the judgment or the snide comment or the put down. Where's that coming from? And you get better and better at that. So the speech is beautiful and the heart's beautiful. The counter to this, and this is very important, is that times when you're not triggered, and hopefully we're not all triggered all the time, otherwise we'd be in a right mess. There are times when there's nothing really being activated or triggered. Now that's the time when you can just kind of hang out with fantasies or watch television or whatever. But to make time to put into the heart that which is wholesome is obviously very, very important. And to stimulate that part of your being which feels compassion, which is generous, which is forgiving, all of those things are very, very important. So you start to, not just start, and we do this all the time, but you make that more and more conscious. Gratitude, make that more and more conscious. Generosity, all these things that we talk about, compassion. So I was saying the other day how one of the ways we're taught compassion is when someone puts me down with wrong speech and mocks me, say, and I have enough mindfulness and feel the pain of that, the pain of being mocked by someone, and I say to myself, all beings who are ridiculed feel this way. I refuse to do that to someone else. That is a really strong practice, and that's compassion. So you're feeling, the very, very real feeling of being hurt by someone, and you're not taking it personally. Hurt feels this way. I refuse to go that way. So the development of compassion then becomes what? It becomes a kind of vibrant, it's a vitality of consciousness, of awareness, which now can know the Nisaya much, much better. So we do metta bhavana, we do gratitude, we do acts of generosity, we remember our parents, we remember our loved ones. We keep doing that. We keep stimulating the heart in that way, and that's tremendously important. Huh? And so you have both the kind of bearing with the anusaya and being patient, but also you have those opportunities of beauty. So you keep bringing beauty into consciousness. Appreciation of nature is a fabulous way to brighten the mind. Just walking around now, we have a wren in the post box. Now it's in its second brood, so this will be like the post person has said, don't take the nest out of your post box. I'll bring you the letters to your door. We get rural delivery here. And so we've watched 2 broods of wrens hatching in the post box. I've got another 2 broods hatching of wrens outside my window. There's a phoebe, and I think it's got its second brood going just outside the back door. There's bird poo all over the place. We have turkey chicks running around. They're really cute. We have a baby bear. I haven't seen mom, but where there's a baby bear, there's mom. We have this beautiful, beautiful environment. If I'm just walking around worried about the Dharma hall, the Dharma hall, is it ever going to get finished? Blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to notice the turkey. So actually, noticing the turkey is very important because it uplifts the heart. I was, for not wanting to give a talk, I'm talking a lot, aren't I? I was listening to a TED talk on fun. Very interesting. It was by a journalist who covers neuroscience. And the science of fun, she said, first of all, fun is not an activity, it's a state of mind. And basically the science of fun is that it's healthy. So she calls fun a health intervention. Yeah, well, I like that. So, sometimes as Buddhists, we're just trying to get past suffering. Life is suffering. It's all suffering. And yet, looking at those wrens in the post box is great fun. And it's allowed. The Buddha allowed us to do that. It's not like drinking whiskey, because it opens the heart. It lifts the heart up. And then, as you develop, and I think this is mudita bhavana, you develop a heart where the mind isn't consumed with its own self-imagery. You're not always thinking about yourself and thinking about your relatives and thinking about the problems, blah, 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 blah. You're available. You're available. And you notice the smile of a person, the color of green, the pain someone is in, and your heart appreciates that. And that is one of the Brahma Viharas, the sense of open-heartedness, attention to the way things are. And that can be, we can look at fun in that way. Mudita is that sense of something really beautiful coming into our lives. This is a health intervention. Looking at a turkey is a health intervention because it makes you feel good. This is not canonical Buddhism, by the way. It's a sort of Viradhammo take on it. But think about that word mudita. We always, in the kind of formulation, it's always that a mother appreciates her child. Well, of course, but maybe it's bigger than that. maybe it is the color blue. When our hearts are open, when we're available to that, which isn't, and that really, that uplifts the heart in a way which isn't like scrolling and trying to find a good video. It's not that. It's much more about the nature of the mind, finding ease, finding fulfillment. And when we have that, when we have fulfillment in the heart through compassion, through generosity, through the joys of nature and the beautiful beings around us, then that fulfillment makes the anusaya much less powerful. Because you see, why do I want to go there? That's just crud. Why do I want to go to that garbage again? You're just like, no, I don't want to go down the road of resentments or down the road of self-hatreds or down the road of anxiety. I've been there. I've done that. Not worth it because your heart's appreciating something more. So the work on we don't use the word anusaya all that much, but I've been thinking a lot lately, maybe because I've talked to a lot of people with childhood issues, how difficult that is to deal with that. But it is normal. It's normal. We all have conditioning. We all have conditioning that comes out. But we can put into this system, very, very beautiful things, very powerful things. So this both are operating, the ability to know the anusaya and not attach to them, let them cease, and then this cultivation of the beautiful part of consciousness. Ooh. So I'll leave that for your reflection.
Andamayang Dhammatitaya Sadhu Karanda Dhamma Se Sadhu 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 Alamodam.
I saw my brother just a couple of hours ago and had a coffee with him. So I'm kind of revved up, I think.
There's a compassion towards you, Luang Por, and we'll not have the questions and answers today.
But if anyone has any questions, you could open this floor if you want.
So maybe we can take one or two questions, a couple of questions, anyone? Yes.
Miri.
Miri.
Hi, Miri. How's the weather in Perth?
It's cool here.
What's cool? Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
What is cool?
I don't know, maybe 12 degrees.
Okay.
I just switched the heater off so it doesn't interfere with the sound.
All right. So what's your question?
Yeah, I found your talk really helpful today. It was right on the things I've been thinking about. And yeah, just with noticing, you say, thoughts as or self-making as an object. Part of what makes it so difficult is it's magnetic, the emotions, like I'm a worrier. I've been a worrier all my life. That's sort of my default. And one of the things that happens with it is that there'll be a particular emotion will come along, and when the emotion like traps you inside the bubble, and it has a false sense of importance. Like, if this isn't resolved, it's going to be terrible. And it's often what I find, and I've been really noticing just how trivial a lot of the things are and out of proportion. Like, I think I've got a fairly good life, and I'm organizing a conference at the moment. I'll just give you an example of one little trivial thing.
Okay.
So organizing the reception of this conference, about 150 people will come, and trying to get the menu right. And one of my colleagues was very insistent that there be goat's cheese on the bruschetta, and I shouted at something. And I'm really upset because the manager is not responding to my request to have goat's cheese on the bruschetta. What's going on, Mary? Why is it your whole world now reduced to, that silly thing? There's much more to life than that. And I'm a vegan. I don't even have goat's cheese. Why do I care? But it just suddenly becomes like the whole world But while I'm trapped in that thought, it just seems incredibly important, and it's hard to get out of it. And so what I found was that there's a cause and effect. As you say, with doing the morning practice, the more I take the morning practice seriously, then the more easy it is to get out of these bubbles. But the less I take the morning practice seriously, the more I get caught up in the bubbles. But partly it's self-reinforcing, because the more I take the emotions of self-making, I-making, mind-making seriously, the harder it is to do the morning practice. So it's a self-perpetuating thing. So, I mean, do you have, I guess my question, is do you have any sense of when you get caught up in the seriousness of the bubble, how to get out of it? Because when you're in it, it's harder to get out of it.
Well, one of the things is, if you can notice that when you're out of the bubble, you just say, well, actually, I survived. That was nothing. So if you can get a conscious recognition after, because we don't remember afterwards, we jump to the next prosciutto or whatever the next menu, as it were, and we're off again. So if you know, you've survived the conference and everyone says sadhu, or they don't, or whatever, and you just say, wow, look at that. There was nothing. And just recognize there was nothing there. It was empty. It's just thought. Just kind of like recognize the state of mind which doesn't have the bubble. Well, there's no bubble. I'm not caught in a bubble right now. So you kind of very deliberately make conscious the fact that there's not a problem. I'm not, rather than thinking, oh gosh, how am I going to deal with the bubble when I get caught up into, you know, because then you do that again. So just that. And then, like what you said about morning practice gets harder when you don't do it, then you have to have super good discipline. You have to be really diligent in going to sleep at the same time and getting up at the same time. That is incredibly helpful, because then that's just what you do. There was a very good friend in Auckland who had that kind of discipline, and you know, his family would complain. He says, complain all you want, this is what I do. And he had a really strong morning practice, and you could see, so like going to sleep same time, I know it's impossible maybe, but you make that like a high priority. And then if you want to sit, if you don't want to sit. So set up 5 alarms, right? Get one really far away from you, really noisy, horrible.
That's the key, because I press snooze. I've pressed snooze about 6 times.
You need like really horrible sounding alarms that are hidden in a cupboard that you have to search for and find. So, you know, you're kind of, oh, darn, where is that thing? At least you're up. Or something like something positive. I can have a cup of coffee. That'll be nice. So you have a reason to get up. There's a Zen monastery that has an invocation to Arabica Javasattva. Do you know that bodhisattva? Arabica Javasattva. It's coffee. And the monks make an invocation to Arabica Javasattva for a reason for them to get up at 4:30 in the morning. This is a monk's joke, sorry. But like also like when you wake up, go into yoga nidra. Like if you're having problems at least get into yoga nidra. Don't move. And get a meditation posture going. Best is get up, have a shower, have a coffee, and get on that cushion. And yeah, so you just keep trying to do that. And then you do a retreat. Because a retreat kind of clears things away, and then you get started again. And with that bubble, yeah, it's very real. You know, it is a reality that kind of consumes you. again, if your morning practice has created body awareness in some way, that will be the point of anchoring. I guess like in terms of intention, the way intention works, you make intentions to prepare you for the bubble experience, say. Like you might just say, when I'm in it, I'm just going, this is just a bubble. I don't know, you make some kind of statement to yourself that hopefully will come up in that period. But reflect, Miri, that you're better at this than you were 5-10 years ago, right?
Yeah, I do have a daily practice. It's just like it sometimes just becomes like a shell. Like I sit down and then the thoughts come. And if I'm anxious, the thoughts will keep, it's very hard to keep coming back. But yeah.
Anusaya. Yeah, you're young, you still have lots of time.
I'm not.
Younger than me. But I think your intention and the integrity of your life keeps awakening you. I think that's what you always have to remember, to encourage yourself and say, this is hard work, rather than, oh gosh, I got lost again, because that's being lost again. So when there's the moment where the bubble's not there, oh great, okay, this is clear. Clear feels this way, clear feels this way. So there's a positive association that way. Okay, thank you for sharing. That's very honest of you. Glenda?
Glenda?
Hi, Glenda. You got your...
Glenda, can you press unmute?
If you unmute, there you go. I got you. There, you're unmuted.
Yes, I'll try
You're good. Go for it.
A couple of years ago, I had spoken with you about sleep problems, and you had suggested some really helpful things. And along with your talks over the past few years, I've been finding that all really helpful. Like this is worry, this is what anxiety feels like, this is what worry feels like. And then I relate to other people. So everyone else who's experiencing this right now, may we be in peace, may we experience safety, So it's not just about me. And then I feel my heart. But what's happening is I have this ear clicking, loud clicking in my right ear that comes and goes. And when it's not an issue, when it wanes, I can feel the stillness. I hear the stillness. I hear the quiet. I find it easier. But when it goes off, like I suppose I could compare it to tinnitus, loud sounds in your ear when you're trying to sleep, when you're trying to lay there and relax. Do you have any suggestions on how one could work with this loud sound in your head when you're, wanting the quiet, wanting to wind down?
May I suggest you say to the sound, go away, I don't want you. And then wait, because that's the honest thing that's going on. Your mind doesn't want that clicking. It wants something else. So you make conscious the not wanting by saying, get out of here, I don't want you. But then you wait and watch. Then you can notice the aversion to the clicking. The clicking is physiological. It is what it is. The aversion is something you can do. Now, obviously, you're preferring the silence, which is pretty natural, but you're not going to have it. So on one hand, you have to let go of what you want, and you have to embrace that which you don't want. And the way to do that is not just to say you must embrace the clicking, because then you can suppress your very real natural desire to get rid of it. But you say to yourself, I don't want this. But then you wait, and hopefully you're conscious of the resistance to this, the not wanting. So you come to a peaceful state of mind which is behind even the clicking. Does that make sense? So it's about the desire. That's what you can work with. The clicking, you work with a doctor.
Yeah, I never thought of that. The part I have control over is the aversion and the frustration. Yeah. And behind that is silence. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm making friends with the aversion.
Yeah. But I used to say to people, just welcome the clicking. But I realized that there's a piece missing, is actually recognize to trying to get rid of it by saying to it, I don't like you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're with awareness of what the aversion feels like. And then you work from that.
So you're actually working with the aversion, and you could say, this is what aversion feels like. This
Exactly.
is what,
That's it.
and so then you're just coming out of that frustration and aversion, because that makes it worse. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. And then it'll keep coming up, but you
Yeah.
keep recognizing it.
Repeat.
Awareness knows, awareness knows, awareness knows. Yeah.
Repeat and wait, repeat and wait. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Glenda. Karen, how are you?
Hi, Luang Por. Can you hear me, Luang Por?
I can.
Okay. Luang Por, thank you so much for today's talk. And thank you for equating marriage to monastic life. And sometimes it does feel that way. Yes, so this year we celebrate 25 marriage vasas then, in that case.
Congratulations.
So thank
There
you.
you go.
Anyway, but Luang Por, I'm going to make this really short. If I understand correctly, and it is in my observation, that awareness is a process of education, because it's not a given that somewhere out there there's this awareness, but rather this awareness is honed, it's educated, it's an intuition that grows with time if you give it the time and the space to be able to flourish. Is that correct?
Yeah, maybe just slight nuance on that. Maybe awareness gives intuition and wisdom a chance to function.
Okay.
Because intuition and wisdom need time to notice the way things are. So when you wait, and then you just wait and you notice grasping, wisdom has arisen because it's given an opportunity. When I'm just preoccupied with trying to get rid of a thought, then there's no space, there's no openness, there's no awareness for intuition, wisdom, these to function. So it's the same idea, but don't make it a thing, right? You did say it's a process. Awareness is the space which allows wisdom, intuition, and we're all wise in that sense. Wisdom isn't the same as the accumulation of intellect. Like wisdom might not be able to do code or cook the turkey that we just shot. Heaven forbid. But rather it knows Dharma. It knows the way things are, right? That was a bad analogy for a monk. Sorry. We don't shoot turkeys, honest.
Oh, I was just thinking of your turkey chicks, so cute.
So if you're never aware, like if you're never aware of something like anxiety, you'll never understand it. It will run your life. And the thing about desire doesn't want the anxiety or the fear or whatever. So it's kind of going against the desire mind by just being with it, waiting, witnessing. But then wisdom sees the way things are, and you enhance that understanding through study. This is changing, right? That kind of thing. All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Luang Por. That really helped me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. All right.
Luang Por. Right.
Good enough?
Very good. This is exceptional today, Luang Por.
It's a coffee.
Shall we do the closing, Luang Por?
Yes, shall we do the
Do that
loving
slow.
kindness?
Yes.
That's a nice one. Please join along if you want. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain its recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world.
Thank you, Luang
Okay,
Por.
everyone. Thank you for your attention.
Thank
See you
you.
next time.
Let us
Bye-bye.
let us all now pay respects to Luang Por by taking leave.
Please do.
Araham Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Avivadimi Swatata Bhagavata Dhamma Dhamma Sami Subhadipana Bhagavato Sarvati Sangho Sandanaman. Bye-bye. Say hi to your turkey.
See you.